Hello everyone and welcome to this edition of NASCAR Veterans. Michael Waltrip. Michael Waltrip is a former NASCAR driver who has competed in the NASCAR Cup Series, Xfinity Series, and the Craftsman Truck Series, as well as being an owner of race teams in each series at one point also. He's the brother of three-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Darrell Waltrip. After over 450 NASCAR Cup Series starts without a victory, he finally won the 2001 Daytona 500, though it was shrouded in sadness and sorrow due to the passing of Dale Earnhardt. This video takes you year by year through Michael Waltrip's long and storied racing career. Enjoy. Originally in 1978, at the age of 12, Michael Waltrip called his older brother Darrell Waltrip, who was racing in the 1978 Daytona 500, to tell him that he wanted to build a racing career. Darrell said to focus on school. Instead, Michael asked his older brother, Bobby Waltrip, for help. Michael started racing go-karts, and basically whatever kind of, racing or racing group he could get into around his, local racing area there in Kentucky. And being from Owensboro, Kentucky. With his brother Bobby's help, Michael was able to win a lot of races and get noticed by Dale Earnhardt. Michael moved out of his house and moved in with Kyle and Richard Petty. Waltrip explained to Richard Petty what his plan was to start his driving career in NASCAR in the Xfinity Series. Petty scoffed at that idea, stating that he would be wasting his time by driving in the Xfinity Series, but rather he needed to find a NASCAR Cup Series ride. Things finally started really happening for Michael Waltrip in 1981 when he captured the mini-modified division track championship at Kentucky Motor Speedway. In 1982, he entered the Goodies Dash Series. The following year, Waltrip won the series championship. Michael Waltrip made his first career NASCAR Cup Series start in 1985 at Charlotte in the spring, in the Coca-Cola 600, driving for Dick Bear, behind the wheel of a number 23 Pontiac. In that first race, he finished 28th. In all, he made 5 starts in the 1985 Cup Series season. His best finish was 18th at Michigan in the summer. Also, in Waltrip's first race, he had his first run-in with Dale Earnhardt, where Waltrip bumped him and Earnhardt flipped him off. In 1986, Michael started driving a number 23 Hawaiian Punch Pontiac full-time for Bahari Racing. The only race that he DNQ'd for was the season opener at Daytona. His best start was 9th at North Wilkesboro in the fall. His best finish was 11th twice at Martinsville in the spring and Pocono in the summer, making 28 out of 29 races throughout the season. He finished second to Alan Kulwicki in the Rookie of the Year standings. He finished 19th in final Cup Series point standings. Waltrip returned to the Bahari Racing team for the 1987 NASCAR Cup Series season, behind the wheel of the number 30 Domino's Pizza All-Pro Auto Parts Chevrolet full-time. His best start was 7th twice at Richmond and North Wilkesboro in the fall. His best finish was 10th at Martinsville in the spring, scoring his first top 10 finish of his NASCAR Cup Series career. Overall, he scored 1 top 10 and finished 20th in final NASCAR Cup Series point standings. Bahari Racing signed a new primary sponsor for the 1988 NASCAR Cup Series season, Country Time Lemonade. Michael Waltrip returned to the team's number 30 Pontiac full-time. The team brought in Mike Beam to serve as crew chief for the team in 1988. They were able to buy a spot in the field for the Daytona 500 from the number 89 Pontiac Mueller's Brothers Racing after missing the field. His best start was 6th at Richmond in the fall, and his best finish was 2nd at Pocono in the spring. This season, Waltrip continued to improve all the way around. Overall, he scored 0 poles, 0 wins, 1 top 5, and 2 top 10s, finishing 18th in final Cup Series point standings. He also made his Xfinity Series debut at IRP in the summer, starting 4th and finishing 14th. In all, he made 5 starts. His best start was said 4th position at IRP, and his best finish was 1st at Dover in the fall, behind the wheel of his brother Darrell's number 17 Exxon Superflow Chevrolet. In 5 starts, he scored 0 poles, 1 win, 2 top 5s, and 2 top 10s. For the 1989 NASCAR Cup Series season, Waltrip returned to the number 30 Country Time Lemonade Pontiac full-time. His best start was 7th twice, at Bristol and Charlotte in the spring. His best finish was 6th at Dover in the fall. Bill Engel replaced Mike Beam as the team's crew chief, starting at race 27 at Rockingham. Statistically, Waltrip continued to improve in 1989 in the Cup Series. Overall, he scored 0 poles, 0 wins, 0 top 5s, and 5 top 10s, finishing 18th in final Cup Series point standings. In the Xfinity Series, Waltrip increased his number of starts to about half the Xfinity Series schedule, with 14 starts, 13 for Cup Series team Bahari Racing, and 1 for a new little team called Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. He found a fair deal of success in 1 start for DEI in a number 3 GM Goodwrench Chevrolet at Rockingham in the fall, starting 13th and finishing 7th. Then in the number 30 for all the remaining races, his best start and finish was 1st, both coming at IRP in the summer. He also scored 2 other poles at Dover and Charlotte in the fall. Overall, in 14 starts, he scored 3 poles, 1 win, 5 top 5s, and 8 top 10s, finishing 23rd in final Xfinity Series points. A new decade, the 1990s, and in 1990, Waltrip returned to the number 30 Country Time Drink Mix Maxwell House Coffee Pontiac. This season was somewhat of a breakout season for Michael Waltrip. His best start was 2nd at Richmond in the fall, and his best finish was 3rd at Charlotte in the fall. Overall, he scored 0 poles, 0 wins, 5 top 5s, and 10 top 10s, finishing 16th in final Cup Series point standings. The Xfinity Series side of things for Bahari Racing saw Michael Waltrip make 12 starts in the team's number 30 Country Time Lemonade Kool-Aid Pontiac. His best start was 1st twice at both Richmond races, and his best finish was 1st twice at Richmond and Dover in the spring. Overall, in 12 starts, he scored 2 poles, 2 wins, 3 top 5s, and 3 top 10s. He also made 1 start in the number 92 Pontiac for Mac Martin at Darlington in the fall, starting 25th and finishing 3rd. At Bristol in the Xfinity Series, Waltrip was in a horrifying crash on lap 170. After making contact with Robert Presley, he hit the gate that was a part of the outside wall. The gate allowed people and vehicles in and out of the infield, due to the fact that the track does not have a tunnel. The impact broke the gate, and he smashed the wall head on. The car completely disintegrated, and at first glance, you would have thought that he was either badly injured or possibly or seriously, well, killed. Thankfully, no such situation was afoot. As Waltrip would tell Ken Squire, he had some contusions and a little bit of confusion, but otherwise, he was alright. I mean, wow, that honestly has to be probably the craziest wreck I've ever seen. And someone just stand up and walk away from it. That's the craziest thing I think I've ever seen. It looks like he should have been shoved out the back of that car. Another new primary sponsor joined the Bahari Racing team, number 30, starting in 1991, Pennzoil. Michael Waltrip returned to the number 30 Pennzoil Pontiac full-time that season. This was his best season in the Cup Series so far, in his career. He spent 10 weeks inside the top 10 in Cup Series point standings, and the top 5 for 1 week. His best start was first twice, at Dover and Michigan in the spring, and his best finish was third at Darlington in the spring. Overall, he scored 2 poles, 0 wins, 4 top 5s, and 12 top 10s, finishing 15th in final Cup Series point standings. As for the Xfinity Series, he made 10 starts in a number 30 Pennzoil Pontiac for the Bahari Racing team. His best start was second at Darlington in the spring, and his best finish was second twice at Daytona in the spring and Darlington in the fall. Overall, in 10 starts, he scored 0 poles, 0 wins, 5 top 5s, and 5 top 10s, finishing 30th in final Xfinity Series point standings. After a very solid season in 1991, in 1992, he had a bit of a down season. Waltrip indeed did return to the number 30 Pennzoil Pontiac full-time. His best start was third at Dover in the spring, and his best finish was fourth at Rockingham in the spring. Doug Hewitt replaced Bill Engel as the number 30 team's crew chief. Overall, he scored 1 top 5 and 2 top 10s, finishing 23rd in final Cup Series points. In the Xfinity Series, Waltrip made 11 starts in the number 30 Pennzoil Pontiac for Bahari Racing. His best start was first at Daytona in the spring, and his best finish was first at Darlington in the fall. Overall, in 11 starts, he scored 1 pole, 1 win, 3 top 5s, and 6 top 10s, finishing 26th in final Xfinity Series points. Then in 1993, Waltrip would return to the number 30 Pennzoil Pontiac for another season. His best start was 6th at Charlotte in the spring, and his best finish was 6th in Atlanta in the fall. This season was a solid turnaround season for the Bahari Racing team. Overall, he scored 5 top 10s and finished a reasonable 17th in final Cup Series points. Now, then, for the number 30 team in the Xfinity Series, he made 10 starts. His best start was second at Indianapolis Raceway Park in the summer. His best finish was first twice at Bristol and Charlotte in the spring. Overall, in 10 starts, he scored 0 poles, 2 wins, 4 top 5s, and 5 top 10s, finishing 30th in final Xfinity Series point standings. Results improved again in 1994 for Waltrip in the NASCAR Cup Series, returning to the number 30 Pennzoil Pontiac full-time. For Bahari Racing, his best start was second at Charlotte in the fall. His best finish was third at Talladega in the spring, only having 3 DNFs all season long, as well as spending 14 weeks inside the top 10 in Cup Series point standings. Overall, he scored 0 poles, 0 wins, 2 top 5s, and 10 top 10s, finishing 12th in final NASCAR Cup Series point standings. In the Xfinity Series, Waltrip made 9 starts, 7 for his Bahari Racing number 30 team, where his best start was first at Daytona in the spring, and then his best finish was third at Charlotte in the spring also, as well as making another 2 starts for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated in their number 3 GM Goodwrench Chevrolet. His best start was 12th, and his best finish was second, both coming at Rockingham in the fall. This would not be the final start he would make for DEI. That's for sure. Overall, in 9 starts in the Xfinity Series, he scored 1 pole, 0 wins, 2 top 5s, and 4 top 10s. In 1995, Waltrip returned for his final season behind the wheel of the number 30 Pennzoil Pontiac for Bahari Racing. His best start was second at Rockingham in the fall. His best finish was third at Charlotte in the spring. This season, Waltrip spent 22 weeks inside the top 10 in Cup Series point standings. Overall, scoring 0 poles, 0 wins, 2 top 5s, and 8 top 10s, finishing 12th in final NASCAR Cup Series points. Back down in the Xfinity Series, Waltrip only made 6 starts behind the wheel of the number 30 Pontiac. His best start was first, and his best finish was second, both coming at Daytona in the spring. Overall, in 6 starts, he scored 1 pole, 0 wins, 2 top 5s, and 2 top 10s. After spending literally his entire NASCAR career driving for Bahari Racing, in 1996, Waltrip started driving for the Wood Brothers Racing number 21 Ford team. His best start was 6th at Bristol in the fall, and his best finish was 5th at Talladega in the spring. Also, in the NASCAR Cup Series All-Star race held at Charlotte a week before the Coca-Cola 600 in the spring, after advancing from the Winston Open, a race for all the drivers who are not eligible for the All-Star race, Waltrip got the lead in the final segment and held on to it to win the All-Star race. An exhibition race for NASCAR Cup Series stars, a non-points event. But nonetheless, a cherished event, an important event to the sport, I'll never forget that night when he pulled the number 21 across start finish line. It was great for the Wood brothers. It was great for Michael Waltrip, who still at that time had gone completely winless in the Cup Series. It was really cool. It was great to see. In the Xfinity Series, he founded Michael Waltrip Racing by making 13 Xfinity Series starts in his own number 12 MW Windows Ford. His best start was first at Richmond in the fall, and his best finish was second at Darlington in the spring. Overall, in 13 starts, he scored 1 pole, 0 wins, 3 top 5s, and 3 top 10s. Also, Waltrip made his Craftsman Truck Series debut in 1996 at Las Vegas in the fall, driving his own number 1 MW Windows Ford. He started 27th and finished 4th. Michael Waltrip returned to the number 21 Citgo Ford full-time for the Wood Brothers Racing team in 1997. This season, he had a strong start to the season, even spending 5 weeks inside the top 10 in Cup Series point standings. Though, as the season drew on, he cooled off pretty hard. His best start was 6th at Sonoma in the spring, and his best finish was 7th 4 times at Atlanta, Darlington, Sonoma, and Dover, all in the spring. Overall, he scored 6 top 10s and finished 18th in final Cup Series point standings. Waltrip made 16 Xfinity Series starts behind the wheel of his own Michael Waltrip Racing, number 21 Band-Aid Ford. His best start was first at Richmond in the fall. His best finish was 3rd at Darlington in the spring. In 16 starts, he scored 1 pole, 0 wins, 4 top 5s, and 5 top 10s, finishing 29th in final Xfinity Series points. In the Craftsman Truck Series, he made 3 starts for himself in the number 1 Ford. His best start was 2nd at Walt Disney World Speedway in the spring, and his best finish was 7th at California in the fall. The 1998 NASCAR Cup Series season saw Michael Waltrip return for his 3rd and final season driving for the Wood brothers in that number 21 Citgo Ford full-time. He DNQ'd for a NASCAR Cup Series race for the first time since 1986, when he missed the field at Phoenix in the fall. His best start was 6th at Daytona in the spring, and his best finish was 9th 4 times at Daytona, Bristol, and Texas in the spring, then at Talladega in the fall. Overall, he scored 5 top 10s, finishing 17th in final Cup Series points. In the Xfinity Series, Waltrip made 15 starts for his own team, the number 21 Band-Aid Ford. His best start was 5th at Dover in the spring, and his best finish was 4th at Charlotte in the spring. Overall, scoring 1 top 5 and 6 top 10s, finishing 32nd in final Xfinity Series points. In the Craftsman Truck Series, Waltrip made one start in his own number 1 Band-Aid Ford at California, starting 31st and finishing 31st after suffering engine failure around lap 55. In 1999, Michael Waltrip joined the Premium Motorsports team number 7, Phillips Chevrolet team full-time. The season got off to an alright start, spending 6 of the first 10 weeks of the NASCAR Cup Series season inside the top 10 in points, before his season really fell off, netting 10 DNFs between race 12 and 34. His best start was 2nd at Las Vegas in the spring, and his best finish was 5th at Daytona in the spring. Overall, he scored 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s, finishing 29th in final Cup Series points. In the Xfinity Series, he made 15 starts in his own Michael Waltrip Racing number 21 Band-Aid Chevrolet. His best start was 6th at Dover in the summer, and his best finish was 1st at Charlotte in the fall. Overall, in 15 starts, he scored 0 poles, 1 win, 3 top 5s, and 7 top 10s, finishing 29th in final Xfinity Series point standings. A brand new century, the year 2000. Though, for Waltrip, he had another really bad season, behind the wheel of the number 7 Nation's Rent Chevrolet full-time. In the middle of the season, the team changed owners, from Jim Matei to Jim Smith. Waltrip's best start was 7th at Las Vegas in the spring, and his best finish was 3rd at Martinsville in the spring. Overall, he scored 1 top 5 and 1 top 10, finishing 27th in final Cup Series point standings. Back in the Xfinity Series, he made 12 starts, all in his own equipment. He ran 9 races behind the wheel of his Michael Waltrip Racing number 7 Band-Aid Chevrolet, and 3 behind the wheel of his Michael Waltrip Racing number 99 Chevrolet. His best start was 4th at Bristol in the fall. His best finish was 2nd at Michigan in the fall. Overall, in 12 starts, he scored 2 top 5s and 4 top 10s. At the conclusion of the season, Smith and Waltrip parted ways. At last, in 2001, Michael Waltrip landed his dream ride, driving the number 15 Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated full-time. In his first start for his new team, he performed very well, leading 27 laps, including the final lap, to score his first ever career victory in the NASCAR Cup Series in over 460 career starts. Sadly, his victory was shrouded in sadness and sorrow due to the fact his friend and new car owner, Dale Earnhardt, lost his life in the final turn on the final lap of the 2001 Daytona 500. His season from there, not surprisingly, fell off quite a bit. He went through 3 different crew chiefs: Scott Eggleston, Steve Micheal, and Slugger Labbe. His best start was 4th at Las Vegas in the spring, and his best finish was 1st in the 2001 Daytona 500. Overall, scoring 0 poles, 1 win, 3 top 5s, and 3 top 10s, finishing 24th in final Cup Series point standings. In the Xfinity Series, Waltrip made 12 starts in his Michael Waltrip Racing number 99 Aaron's Dream Machine Chevrolet. His best start was 2nd at Charlotte in the fall, and his best finish was 3rd in Atlanta in the spring. Overall, scoring 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s. Now, the 2002 NASCAR Cup Series season saw Waltrip return to the number 15 Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet full-time. This season was a much better season all the way around for Waltrip. His best start was 2nd twice at Michigan and Watkins Glen in the summer, and his best finish was 1st at Daytona in the summer. Overall, he scored 0 poles, 1 win, 4 top 5s, and 10 top 10s, finishing 14th in final Cup Series points. In the Xfinity Series, Waltrip made 19 starts behind the wheel of his Michael Waltrip Racing number 99 Aaron's Chevrolet. His best start was 1st twice at Kansas and Charlotte in the fall, and his best finish was 1st at Michigan in the fall. Overall, in 19 starts, he scored 2 poles, 1 win, 6 top 5s, and 11 top 10s, finishing 27th in final Xfinity Series points. Michael Waltrip's career best season came in 2003 in the NASCAR Cup Series, returning to the number 15 Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet full-time for DEI. He was able to win the 2003 Daytona 500, thankfully able to enjoy winning the Daytona 500 without having to deal the death of a friend. Also, Waltrip was able to lead the Cup Series point standings for 2 weeks, spending 12 weeks inside the top 5 and spending 27 weeks inside the top 10. Unfortunately, he missed finishing inside the top 10 in points due to the fact he scored 60 DNFs in the final 12 races. His best start was third at Bristol in the fall, and his best finish was first twice at Daytona in the spring and Talladega in the fall. Overall, scoring 0 poles, 2 wins, 8 top 5s, and 11 top 10s, finishing 15th in final Cup Series point standings. Then in the Xfinity Series, he made 20 starts, driving his Michael Waltrip Racing number 99 Aaron's Chevrolet. His best start was first twice at Richmond in the spring and Kansas in the fall, and his best finish was first at Bristol in the fall. Overall, in 20 starts, he scored 2 poles, 1 win, 8 top 5s, and 13 top 10s, finishing 18th in final Xfinity Series points. While Waltrip indeed returned to the number 15 Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet full-time again in 2004, this season he did not fare quite as well as the previous couple seasons. In fact, starting at race 32 in Martinsville, Pete Rondo replaced Slugger Labby as the team's crew chief. His best start was second twice at Talladega in the spring and Daytona in the summer, and his best finish was second at Charlotte in the spring. Overall, he scored 0 poles, 0 wins, 2 top 5s, and 9 top 10s, finishing 20th in final Cup Series point standings. For the first time in his career, Michael Waltrip ran the full Xfinity Series schedule. Well, all but 3 races. His best start was third at Nazareth in the spring, and his best finish was first at Nashville Superspeedway in the spring. He actually led the Xfinity Series points early in the season for 3 weeks. The only reason Waltrip didn't finish inside the top 10 in final Xfinity Series points is because he chose not to race 3 races in the summertime. Overall, he scored 0 poles, 1 win, 3 top 5s, and 9 top 10s, finishing 13th in final Xfinity Series points. Waltrip also returned to the Craftsman Truck Series, making 2 starts. His best start was 13th, and his best finish was 5th, both coming at Charlotte in the spring, driving a number 47 Axion Chevrolet for Rob Morgan. Dale Earnhardt Incorporated decided to swap crew chiefs of the number 8 and the number 15 teams to help, quote, improve performance. Well, it really didn't work very well, and by race 26 at Richmond, Tony Gibson replaced Tony Eury Jr. as the number 15's crew chief. Waltrip's best start was first at Pocono in the spring, and his best finish was second at Phoenix in the spring. Overall, he scored 1 pole, 0 wins, 3 top 5s, and 7 top 10s, finishing 25th in final Cup Series point standings. In the Xfinity Series, he attempted 23 races, qualifying for 17 in his number 99 Chevrolet. His best start was 6th at Gateway in the summer, and his best finish was 7th 3 times at Daytona, Atlanta, and Phoenix in the spring. Overall, he scored 4 top 10s, finishing 35th in final Xfinity Series point standings. At the conclusion of the season, DEI and Waltrip parted ways. On January 20th, 2006, Michael Waltrip and Doug Bowell, owner of the number 77 Cup Series team, announced the forming of Waltrip Jasper Racing. You see, Waltrip signed a contract to drive for Bill Davis Racing. In the meantime, in the median year, while Toyota was not going to be debuting in the Cup Series until 2007. Well, in the meantime, he was going to be needing a ride. He was under contract with Bill Davis to drive for Bill Davis, and it had to be included with him. It was a mess, but basically, all of 2006 was a mess, by the way. And so was Bill Davis Racing, to be quite honest with you at this point. This arrangement really allowed Waltrip to be at least guaranteed a spot for the first 5 races of the 2006 NASCAR Cup Series season from the number 77 team's 2005 owner points. Now, the Dodges were pretty far off the pace, though, due to the fact that Bill Davis Racing had a lawsuit from Dodge because they were caught testing a Toyota while still under contract to Dodge, meaning that the team didn't have any factory support from Dodge at all. So they were pretty far off the pace. Waltrip DNQ'd for the first time since 1998 at Charlotte in the spring. He would buy a spot in the field from McGlynn Racing's number 74 team, but, he would still end up missing 3 races throughout the 2006 season in the Cup Series. His best finish was 14th at Talladega in the fall. He finished 37th in final Cup Series point standings. In the Xfinity Series, he made 21 starts, 20 in his own number 99 Dodge, with a best finish of 2nd at Charlotte in the fall. Then 1 start in number 99 Ford for Premium Motorsports at Nashville Superspeedway, finishing 10th. Overall, he scored 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s, finishing 27th final Xfinity Series points. In the Craftsman Truck Series, Waltrip made 1 start for his brother Darrell Waltrip Motorsports, number 12 Toyota, at Homestead in the fall, finishing 17th. That following season, in 2007, Waltrip moved his Xfinity Series team up to the NASCAR Cup Series full-time, also hiring Dale Jarrett to drive a number 44 Toyota, sponsored by UPS, and David Rudiman to drive a number 00 Aaron's Toyota. And Waltrip himself will be behind the wheel of number 55 Napa Auto Parts Toyota for what was intended to be a full-time season. Yes, he brought his Busch Series team up to the Cup Series and expanded it to a 3-car team with a brand new manufacturer. Yes, the results were as bad as you would probably figure they would be, but he stuck with it. Persistence does pay, but it did not pay in the 2007 season. Yeah, but it honestly was really it was depressing. He qualified for the Daytona 500, but did not qualify for another Cup Series event for 11 straight races. Not until the Dover race in the late spring. In all, he DNQ'd 19 times throughout the 2007 NASCAR Cup Series season. This was Toyota's first season in the Cup Series, like I said, and it was just, they were slow. His best start was first at Talladega in the fall, and his best finish was 10th, twice, at Michigan in the spring and Charlotte in the fall. Overall, in 14 starts, he scored 1 pole, 0 wins, 0 top 5s, and 2 top 10s, finishing 44th in final Cup Series point standings. Waltrip made 1 start in the Xfinity Series for Braun Racing in the number 32 Toyota in Atlanta in the spring, and he finished 43rd. After by far the worst season in Michael Waltrip's NASCAR career in 2007, 2008, by comparison, wasn't that bad. He qualified for every race throughout the 2008 NASCAR Cup Series season, once again behind the wheel of the number 55 Napa Auto Parts Toyota full-time. At the beginning of the season, he went through 3 different crew chiefs before settling on Bobby Kennedy as the number 55 team's crew chief for the remainder of the 2008 season in the NASCAR Cup Series. His best start was 2nd at Daytona in the spring, and his best finish was 2nd at Loudon in the summer. Overall, he scored 1 top 5 and 2 top 10s, finishing 29th in final Cup Series point standings. Waltrip did not make any starts in any other series in 2008. The 2009 NASCAR Cup Series season ended up being Michael Waltrip's final full-time season. He was behind the wheel of his own Michael Waltrip Racing, number 55 Napa Auto Parts Toyota. Booty Barker served as the team's crew chief until race 29 at Kansas, where Gene Need replaced him. His best start was 11th at Phoenix in the fall, and his best finish was 7th twice at Daytona in the spring and Talladega in the fall. Overall, he scored 2 top 10s, finishing 33rd in final Cup Series point standings. In the Xfinity Series, Waltrip made 7 starts in his Michael Waltrip Racing number 99 Aaron's Dream Machine Toyota. His best start was 9th at Phoenix in the spring, and his best finish was 11th at Daytona in the summer. Another new decade, the 2010s, and in 2010, Michael Waltrip made 4 NASCAR Cup Series starts, 3 for Michael Waltrip Racing, and 1 for Phil Parsons. Behind the wheel of a number 51 Napa Auto Parts Toyota for the Daytona 500 for Michael Waltrip Racing, then a number 55 Toyota for Phil Parsons at Bristol in the spring, starting 39th and finishing 41st. In his other 3 starts in Michael Waltrip Racing equipment, his best start was 20th at Talladega in the fall. His best finish was 18th at Daytona in the spring. Again, he made no other starts in any other series in 2010. For the 2011 NASCAR Cup Series season, Michael Waltrip was able to use the same number as he was running when he drove for DEI. The first half of the 2000s, the number 15. He made 3 starts. His best start was 8th at Daytona in the spring, and his best finish was 9th at Talladega in the fall. Overall, in 3 starts, he scored 1 top 10. Waltrip returned to the Xfinity Series to make his final 2 Xfinity Series starts of his career, behind the wheel of the Pastrana Waltrip Racing number 99 Toyota. His best start was 24th at Talladega in the spring, and his best finish was 9th at Daytona in the spring. He also returned to the Craftsman Truck Series to make his final career start, behind the wheel of the number 15 Toyota for Billy Ballou at Daytona in the spring, starting 11th and finishing 1st, going to victory lane for the final time in his NASCAR career and for the first time in the Craftsman Truck Series. Again, in 2012, Michael Waltrip returned to the NASCAR Cup Series to make 4 starts behind the wheel of the Michael Waltrip Racing number 55 Aaron's Dream Machine Toyota. His best start was 9th at Talladega in the spring, and his best finish was 9th at Daytona in the summer. Overall, in 4 starts, he scored 1 top 10. Waltrip never made another start in another series the rest of his career. The 2013 NASCAR Cup Series season saw Waltrip again make 4 starts, 3 for Michael Waltrip Racing in the number 55 Aaron's Dream Machine, and 1 in a number 26 Toyota for Swan Racing for the Daytona 500. In the number 26, he started 29th and finished 22nd. In the number 55, his best start was 7th at Daytona in the summer, and his best finish was 4th at Talladega in the spring. Overall, in 4 starts, he scored 2 top 5s and 2 top 10s. In 2014, on September 12, 2013, NASCAR penalized the Michael Waltrip Racing team for intentionally manipulating the outcome of the Richmond Raceway race that was the cutoff race for the playoffs in 2013. Honestly, this is what started the end of Michael Waltrip Racing. In 2014, Waltrip again made 4 NASCAR Cup Series starts. This season, in the number 66 Blue Dev Diesel Exhaust Fluid Toyota for Michael Waltrip Racing. His best start was 28th at Talladega in the spring. His best finish was 16th at Talladega in the fall. Waltrip, unsurprisingly, made another 3 starts in 2015. 2 in a number 55 Aaron's Dream Machine Toyota, and 1 in a number 98 Maxwell House Toyota, all for Michael Waltrip Racing. His best start was 23rd at Talladega in the spring. His best finish was 13th at Talladega in the fall. At the conclusion of the 2015 NASCAR Cup Series season, Waltrip shut down Michael Waltrip Racing. That following season, in 2016, he made 2 Cup Series starts for 2 different teams. One for BK Racing's number 83 Toyota, and another for Premium Motorsports number 55 Peak Antifreeze Toyota. His best start was 33rd and his best finish was 12th, both coming at Talladega in the spring, driving the number 55. Waltrip's final career NASCAR start came in the Cup Series in 2017 behind the wheel of the number 15 Aaron's Toyota for Premium Motorsports. The 2017 Daytona 500, starting 30th and finishing 8th. So, in 784 NASCAR Cup Series starts, he scored 4 poles, 4 wins, 41 top 5s, and 133 top 10s, with the best points finish of 12th twice, in 1994 and 1995, while driving the number 30 Pennzoil Pontiac for Bahari Racing. In 279 Xfinity Series starts, he scored 14 poles, 11 wins, 59 top 5s, and 105 top 10s, with a best points finish of 13th in 2004, while driving the number 99 Chevrolet for Michael Waltrip Racing. In 9 Craftsman Truck Series starts, he scored 0 poles, 1 win, 3 top 5s, and 4 top 10s. In 9 Craftsman Truck Series starts, he scored 0 poles, 1 win, 3 top 5s, and 4 top 10s, with a best points finish of 61st in 2004. Thanks, everyone. Sure do appreciate you guys watching the video. If you would, don't forget to click the like button, and if you're not subscribed, subscribe. Again, sure appreciate you guys watching the video. Take care.